When was the last time you played Leapfrog? Most of us would probably get hurt if we tried it these days. The goal, if you'll remember, is to jump over your fellow players, not to jump on top of them. Still, I do believe injuries would be in store if we were to play it literally. But there is a strategic business application of Leapfrog that I believe senior business leaders should consider. My first read of 2021, The Why of Work by Dave and Wendy Ulrich, was filled with practical ways to bring value, meaning, and abundance to the workplace. This was just one of their valuable nuggets. When we consider best practices that we get from others in our industry, we have basically two options. We can virtually copy them with very little tailoring, or we can leapfrog a best practice by learning from what is presented and tweaking it a little bit. We can adopt or we can adapt. The authors contend that when we simply copy a best practice or adopt it, that we actually are trailing in the generation of new ideas, falling behind in the development curve. But when we leapfrog a best practice, when we adapt by improving and customizing it before implementation, we can move far beyond what others have done. Yes, there may be some cases where copy and paste adoption might suffice. But if the opportunity presents itself to improve on an idea, why in the world would we not? Two quick stories as to why leaders often stifle the leapfrog of ideas. First of all, know that this is in my nature. I'm more of an editor than I am a creator. Adaptation through improvement comes very naturally for me. In my early 40s, as I was thoroughly enjoying a little side hustle in a local small town movie theater, I couldn't help myself. Working there gave us a little bit of the financial boost that we needed at the time, but the real reason that I enjoyed it was because it was so much fun. I love movies, and I was working with a bunch of teenagers, many of whom it was their very first job, and I was working in a place that was ripe for improvement. The opportunity to leapfrog was all around me, and I embraced it. It didn't take very long at all, though, before my peer manager let me know that she was not a fan. Before long, virtually everything I tried was met with resistance, if not outright noncompliance. In this case, the stifling of the leapfrog of ideas was based in fear of change and leadership insecurity. A few years later, I was responsible for launching a branch of an existing organization in a new location. This was something nobody involved had ever done before. Quite naturally for me, it made sense to modify and adapt, to leapfrog on a number of occasions. We were in a new space with unique challenges and obstacles to overcome. As long as we kept the core function and our DNA intact, we had the freedom to make decisions to meet our specific needs. But again, it didn't take long for friction and resistance to rise up. Things started to look a little different at the new location, which felt to some like a threat to the DNA. And improvements that were a natural part of our development process felt to some like they were judgments of prior decisions. In this situation, to leapfrog ideas eventually became more of a battleground than what it could have been. It could have been an incredible opportunity and idea generator that benefited everyone, but it's hard. Change is hard. Leadership insecurity is real. Maintaining an organizational DNA is an overarching priority. And the larger your company, the more difficult it is to implement leapfrog opportunities. Even so, organizations that figure this out, that encourage the game of leapfrog, adapting and improving on best practices, systems, and protocols, will be in an advantageous position. We all know that maintaining status quo kills organizations, and simply adopting another's ideas lacks ownership and sustainability. But building a culture that encourages adaptation and the leapfrogging of ideas could be the differentiator that allows you and your team to play the game well into the future. Do not be afraid of it. Be willing to play the game of leapfrog.